Is reality real? Okay, let's just dive right in because we're about to tackle one of the most mind-bending, unsettling questions out there, one that modern technology has really forced us to consider. What if our reality isn't the real one? No, I mean, really take a second and think about that. How can you be so sure that everything you're experiencing right now, hearing my voice, the room you're in, is genuinely real? What if we're not the creators of our world, but creations inside someone else's? You see, the whole problem really starts with us. Our senses, our brains, they can only pick up on a tiny, tiny fraction of what's actually happening around us. So what we call reality is already like a heavily edited and filtered version of the truth. And it's in that gap, that space between what's really out there and what we perceive, that some seriously strange possibilities start to creep in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Simulating an entire universe? That sounds completely impossible. And look, if you had to simulate everything down to the last atom, you'd be totally right. But what if you didn't have to? The key isn't perfect replication. It's all about creating a convincing illusion. And there's actually a blueprint for faking it. This really gets at the heart of it, efficiency. You could try it the hard way, simulating every single particle in the cosmos. That's just computationally insane. Or you could do it the smart way. You only create enough of the universe to fool the people living inside it. You just cut a few corners. So, for example, on a huge scale, who really needs billions of actual physical galaxies? You'd only have to render the space that your inhabitants could actually explore. The rest, it could just be a super high-resolution backdrop, a flat projection on a giant screen. And the people inside would have absolutely no way of telling the difference. And this same trick works on a much smaller scale too. Like the chair you're sitting in right now. It doesn't need to be filled with quadrillions of simulated atoms all the time. The simulation could just render the outer layer, the part you see and touch. The inside could be totally empty until the exact moment you decide to smash it open. Then, boom, the atoms just pop into existence when they're needed. So, here's the crucial point. The goal isn't to perfectly replicate a universe. Not at all. It's to make the inhabitants believe the simulation is real. As long as their conscious experience feels totally convincing, well, the simulation has succeeded. This brings us to the core logic, which is based on the philosopher Nick Bostrom's famous simulation argument. The whole thing really hinges on 5 key assumptions. And if these 5 things are true, well, the conclusion is, you'll see, it's pretty wild. So, these 5 assumptions are basically our roadmap. First, that consciousness can be simulated. Second, that technology will just keep getting better. Third, that civilizations don't all just, blow themselves up. Fourth, that advanced beings would actually want to run these simulations. And finally, number 5, probability. If they run a whole lot of them, you are probably in one. Let's walk through each one starting at the top. All right, assumption 1. This is the big one. We don't even really know what consciousness is, but for this whole argument to work, we have to assume that it's basically a product of the brain's incredibly complex processing. And if that's true, then anything the brain can do, a powerful enough computer could theoretically do too. And when I say powerful, I am not kidding. To simulate the entire history of humanity all at once, you'd need a computer capable of 1,000,000 trillion operations per second. That is a number so big it's hard to even wrap your head around. It sounds impossible, right? Or is it? And that's exactly where the second assumption comes in. If we just assume that technological progress continues on its incredible exponential trajectory, then at some point, way, way in the distant future, a civilization could achieve this level of computing power. We're talking about being so advanced, they would be basically indistinguishable from gods to us. We even have some wild concepts for how such a computer might be built. It's called a Matrioshka brain. It's this theoretical megastructure made of nested spheres that orbit a star, just sucking up all of its energy. A computer like this could simulate not just one, but millions of entire humanities, all at the same time. Of course, to build a Matryoshka brain, you have to survive long enough to do it. This is assumption 3, that at least some civilizations make it through the great filters, those massive existential threats like nuclear war, climate change, or runaway AI that could wipe them out before they reach that godlike stage. If everyone self-destructs, the conversation just ends right here. So let's say they survive and they build their supercomputers. Why on earth would they want to run simulations of ancient, primitive civilizations like ours? For science? For art? For entertainment? The truth is, it's pretty arrogant for us to even assume we could comprehend their motives. And this is the core problem. Imagine trying to explain an amusement park, roller coasters, cotton candy, the very concept of fun to an ant. It's impossible. Its reality is just too different. Well, to a post-human civilization, we are those ants. Their reasons for doing anything might be completely beyond our understanding. And that brings us to our final assumption, which is all about pure probability. If a post-human civilization has basically unlimited computing power, and they decide to run simulations, they probably wouldn't run just one. They'd run millions, maybe billions of them. Why? Just because they can.
And so, if you accept all 5 of those assumptions, that consciousness can be simulated, tech will advance, civilizations survive, they'll want to run simulations, and they'll run a lot of them, you arrive at a very startling conclusion about the odds of your own existence.
It all just becomes a simple numbers game. If there is only one base reality, but billions of simulated realities, then the overwhelming majority of all conscious minds that ever exist will be the simulated ones, not the original, biological ones. I mean, just look at this. For every one real being made of flesh and blood, there could be billions of simulated minds, like the one that might be inside your head right now. Statistically speaking, the chances of you being in that tiny, tiny sliver of original beings become vanishingly small. Which brings us right back to the question we started with. Given those odds, can you really, truly be sure that you're one of the originals? Okay, deep breaths. This is a seriously mind-bending thought experiment, but let's ground ourselves. Let's say we are in a simulation. So what? What does that actually change for you, right here, right now? And the answer, maybe surprisingly, is not much. Whether you're a collection of atoms on a small planet speeding through the void or a program running on some vast computer, your existence is already equally bizarre and wonderful. Your feelings are real to you. Your choices matter to you. All we can really do is try to live good lives and have a good time. In the end, we can't test this hypothesis, so we might as well live our lives as fully as possible, and maybe, just maybe, keep our fingers crossed that our universe's power supply is secure.